Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by asking you all a few questions. Who here in the room has heard of AIDS? And who in the room has heard of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome? More than I thought. I usually see a blank room of faces that have not heard of the condition. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a rare disease, and rare diseases are neglected. There's not enough research, there's no local care and coordination, and not enough expertise. In medical school, doctors are taught that when you hear hoofbeats, you should think of horses and not zebras, or zebras, as most of you like to call them. We're trying to re-educate that they must think of zebras. They have to think of the rare. Alone, these conditions are rare, but together they are common. There are 7,000 different rare diseases, and 50% of those affect children. And 30% of those children don't live to see their 5th birthday. Rare diseases affect more people than AIDS and cancer around the world. That's more than 350 million people globally. I am one of those people. I live with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and spend my life both professionally and personally fighting for all those living with rare, chronic, and invisible diseases. EDS is a multisystemic connective tissue condition, and there is little that escapes the symptoms. It affects your joints, your autonomic system, your gastrointestinal system, your pelvis, your immune system, your veins and arteries, and it can be life-limiting, and it is almost always life-impacting. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 24 years old, despite having been symptomatic since the age of 11. And that is the average time to diagnosis for most people living with this. Like so many conditions that cause chronic pain, often people have had years of being called a hypochondriac, of not being believed or validated. And people are so much sicker and more deconditioned than they need to be, simply because they do not live close to an EDS expert and have had no access to management and care. They live in fear of not getting health insurance, of not being believed, of a life of multiple doctor's visits. And we're seeing examples of parents being falsely accused of child abuse. We're seeing symptoms of people living with PTSD from years of trying to find out the reason for all of their pain. As well as a patient, I am the executive director of the international organization, the Ehlers-Danlos Society. And we are very excited to be launching our EDS Echo next month. When we first heard about Project Echo, we quickly realized that this could be the key to creating local expertise, to prevent people traveling across countries and across the world to see an EDS expert, and to increase awareness and understanding of how to manage this much neglected condition. We've been ambitious with our goals. We are the first non-profit to be embarking on a global echo effort, launching initially with a hub in the US and the UK, and aiming to have hubs all over the globe within 5 years. Project Echo has given us hope. It's given us a tool that is successful and proven. I live with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome every day. I do not remember a time when a day in my life did not include pain. I feel it everywhere. It's exhausting, and at times it is agonizing. And people ask me how I do what I do. I'm driven to make a difference for everyone living with this cruel condition, despite having it myself. Over the years, I have heard heartbreaking stories, and those help me going even on the hardest days. And I'd like to share with you one of those stories today. There was a 15-year-old girl who spent her life at school on crutches and in pain with no answers. A girl who was always told she was a hypochondriac or unlucky. And one day, walking home from school, she bumped into the wrong crowd of girls and she ended up with a black eye. It was no big deal to her. It was nowhere near the pain that she usually felt, but the next day, for the first time, everybody could see her pain. People were asking what could they do? Did it hurt, they said. She was in so much pain, and nobody understood or believed her. And the girl thought, this is nothing. They have no idea how much pain she is in everywhere else. But there was a difference. The pain from this black eye was visible. A few months later, this girl had had enough. She was in so much pain and nobody understood or believed her. She needed to make her pain visible again so that people could understand. She then did the unthinkable. She ended up beating herself up. She punched herself and slashed her face and brought to the surface everything that she felt inside. She tried to recreate that moment of understanding that she had when she had the black eye. She went so far that she ended up passing out and waking up in an ambulance. She made her invisible visible. This is not an uncommon story for people suffering with EDS. When we launched the Ehlers-Danlos Society in 2016, we had big dreams and a neglected community who shared stories just like this and worse. In just a few years, we have launched a global registry, funded nearly $3 million of research, and facilitated the collaboration of medical professionals around the world. So I believe we are the ones to make it happen. We are so proud to be part of the Project ECHO team, and we believe that together we can train 1,000 new EDS experts by 2022. It's a bold ambition, but we are driven by our patients and the desperate need that we know is there. That 15-year-old girl whose story I shared with you is standing in front of you today. Now, almost 20 years later, I cannot relate to that scared and frustrated girl, but I try and remember her. I want to get to a time when no other young or older person is driven to do what I did. And what I really want to see is a time when geography and wealth no longer determine your quality of life. When diagnosis, validation, and management come when symptoms begin. And Project ECHO has brought hope to this dream. A group of zebras together is called a dazzle. And I believe that not only will ECHO change the landscape for EDS, I believe that it has the capacity to change it for rare diseases too. And I will do everything that I can to make it happen. I believe, together, we will truly dazzle. Thank you.